Right. 19 March 2022. And today was a very, very exciting day. There were two rallies today, and the first rally, obviously, which was being watched by everyone else, was in Mutare at Sakuba Stadium. And in this rally, there was President of the CCC, Defiant Chamisa, and let me welcome Senator Kalipani Pugeni before I proceed. How are you, Senator?
I'm okay. How are you? And good evening, good morning, good afternoon to our listeners.
I'm so sorry, Senator, that you found me already started because our network connection was giving us problems. But I think let me start by giving you an opportunity to talk. How did you see the rally that was in Mutare today?
Well, I didn't have much time, as you know. I was in church during the day, and I tried to follow now in the evening. One thing you have to give it to NC is that he can work the crowd. So he's got the advantage of that energy that he's able to incite. So there's a lot of energy going in there. And of course, in terms of on what is the offering or the value proposition, there is nothing much to go with, especially if you are to compare with what was in Pinga. I've only listened to 20 minutes of the president's speech, the president of the country. I've only listened to 20 minutes. I think there was much value proposition there you could work with. The only challenge is that then he had to go back to the threats of saying to people, vote for me because I'm government. If you don't vote for me, you're not going to get services, which I thought, I think his speech writers and his advisors should actually advise him not to go down that route, because then the conclusion, correctly so, will be, okay, we're in this position simply because we've not been voting for you. And I thought it was, that part of the speech was just bad.
Okay, so Senator, you were the spokesperson for Poland. And today I want us to focus on dialogue, because this is a very important issue. I have heard a lot of calls today because CCC President Defiant Chamisa said he does not want any discussions ahead of the elections. He just wants to go ahead. Let me play the clip, and then I want us to discuss whether there's any need for dialogue at this point. Let me play what Chamisa said in Mutare.
But for now, no GNU. We want to be clear about where we are going. All we want is my reforms. And this was opinda kunyengerwa futhi zatakamboitwa mariforms anenge aripo munyika muno, nyika ije ZANU-PF, nyika ije Mnangagwa, nyika ije munhu, nyika ndedu chose.
Right, Senator.
Yeah.
I want to say there were about 50,000 people in that stadium.
Okay.
In conservative terms, Sakuba Dangavura has got the biggest number of voters. In fact, last election, they had more than 18,000 people voting for the NDC candidate. So if you put together Chimanimani, Makoni South, Makoni North, because there were many candidates there who brought their people, We had about 50,000 there. And my friend Regai Tsunga, very hardworking MP, he was there. Chamisa is very, very confident. He's confident of winning this election. 2 weeks ago, he said that he wants pre-election and post-election dialogue. Now he has changed his tune. What do you think about this? Is dialogue necessary at this point?
Well, I don't know. I think between you and me, you are probably more qualified to translate or interpret things that are said in Shona. But I don't think he spoke about dialogue there, unless you are using GNU and dialogue interchangeable. But he spoke about the GNU. He said he doesn't want GNU for now. And he said, for now, let's do the reforms, let's go for elections, and then the outcome will determine. Like I'm saying, I mean, I stand to be corrected. I'm getting there. I'm not yet there. But I think that's what he said, unless if I got things wrong.
Yeah, I think, Senator, when I listen to Chamisa most times, I have to interpret what he's saying. No one came to Chamisa for a GNU. So obviously he's talking about dialogue. And let me show you why he's talking about dialogue and who he's talking about. Just give me a second. I won't make a comment about this.
Wait. I think I will comment. But what I was trying to say was I have to be careful. I can comment on your interpretation, but I'm saying that's not what he said, because he says I've heard, I don't know whether he said other people or a certain individual talk about GNU, and he said right now I don't want GNU. You see, so if your interpretation is something else, I don't mind to comment on it, but I don't want to live here with people thinking that we are saying that's what he said and we're confused, and then therefore we're commenting on that. I don't mind commenting on your interpretation. It's okay.
Okay, let me play for you a clip first, and then we'll take it from there.
Gone are the days of the politics of ranga, acrimony, hatred. Now is the time for the politics of rational disputation and tolerance. We are committed to national dialogue because it is in the best interest of the Zimbabwean people that we do that. At Lancaster House, there was dialogue and it brought independence. After Gukura Hundi, there was dialogue and there was the Unity Accord. And after the senseless bloodletting in 2008, there was dialogue and there was a global political agreement together with the government of national unity, which changed the lives of the people of Zimbabwe for the better. This is the hour of dialogue.
Senator, there is no question in my mind that these guys are talking about the same thing. They are talking about dialogue leading to a GNU, and dialogue before and after the elections. And I want to go back to my question. You were the spokesperson for Poland. You know this issue of dialogue more than anyone else. What is the purpose of dialogue 1 year before the election? Is it important or not?
Okay, I'm fortunate in the sense that both comrades, both leaders are people that I have some knowledge of. Of course, Honorable Monzora more closely than NC. But when the party was still one, most of the times in the NEC, I will be seated with NC or next to him. Even in our NEC workshops and whatever, we had some proper relationship. Of course, Monzola, I was very, very close, extremely close. One thing I can tell you about the two gentlemen is that they have always wanted to be presidents of this country. And so all of them have a strategy. So what you see with NC taking all the different positions, it was learning. It was basically a learning curve, how to understand the party better. Even ended up training in law, training as a theologian and all those things. He just wanted to be able to build a certain coalition. Same thing with Honorable Monzora when you saw him writing the Constitution, building up alliances from different sectors of the community. So you've got two men that are extremely determined. So what you are finding here, you are finding two men that want to be president of this country, that think that they have something to offer good for the citizens of this country. And obviously, one is not going to take a route which the other one is taking. So you are seeing different offerings from two different leaders. It does not necessarily, there is basically nothing wrong. I do not see President Monzora following NC's approach, and I don't see the advocate following Monzora's approach. They will take their different approaches. Coming to the issue of Pollard, there are a lot of achievements that happened at Pollard, especially when I was there. But I'm no longer there, so I'm not able to speak conclusively about it. And I think you will accept that even the PR of Pollard, even if I have to say so myself, having left the position, it has somewhat been reduced. So it's difficult to really know what they are doing and what they are not doing. I think the Honorable Monzora has articulated succinctly so, and in no uncertain terms, why he wants to pursue dialogue and what he thinks he can achieve from dialogue. You saw him write a letter to HE. HE responded. You saw him saying after the by-elections, there is going to be serious dialogue, with which dialogue is not about positions, but it's about a good dividend for the citizens of Zimbabwe. So I don't think any rightful person will disagree with that. It's something that works for him. It's something which has worked for the people of Zimbabwe, and he articulates it so well, right? Now, with NC, it's a different case altogether, because he feels hard done by the current administration, and he holds the MDC culpable and responsible. So anything that the MDC will be pursuing, naturally, he would think that he shouldn't be there because he is going to end up with a raw deal. That's how I view this different approach between the two men. But does dialogue work? Of course it does. It does work. There is no question about that.
Okay, I want to show you something else. Senator, what we are witnessing with Chamisa is unprecedented. I do not want to overpraise Chamisa, but his strategy seems to be working. I want to show you what happened in Mtare today when he entered. And I said there were 50,000 people here. I don't know how they got those 50,000 people into that stadium, but let's see what happened. Right, Senator, that clip is 2 minutes. Chamisa walked across that stadium, then he went and sat in the crowd. After the address, very energetic, looking very, very strong, he went into town and he went into TM or Pick and Pay, whatever. I don't know if you saw that clip. He was mobbed by hundreds of people on the street. Chamisa does not feel like he's going to lose the election. He feels like he's going to win this election. And he warned President Mnangagwa. You saw his warning. He said that you think you can stop me from getting in, but you can't. And he said that they can overwhelm the Zimbabwe government, but they won't.
Okay.
Is this not going to lead to other things, like violence, for example?
Okay. First of all, if there's one good thing, at least this one I know we won't disagree, even with the hardcore opponents, out of these by-elections, is that they've given the people of Zimbabwe a platform to demand something from their leaders. So you have the MTC campaigning heavy. You saw last week the crowds which we pulled as well. And there are promises which are made there. Chief amongst them is that we are going to lead a process of dialogue which is going to improve their lot, right? That's the key offering of MTC. We're going to lead a dialogue, which dialogue is going to give you a good dividend. And then you've got NC, he's making all these promises which are resonating with young people, and you can see that they are flooding those gatherings because they find hope in him and the promises which he's giving that he's capable of delivering. But there is one thing that I think you're missing, is that ZANU is also filling up their gatherings. I don't know if you saw that crowd in Pinga. That's not a small crowd by anyone's standards. That's not a small crowd, because remember, Pinga is a Triple C stronghold. You saw Honorable Tubego Sibanda, how much he pulled in the last election. I mean, that's a stronghold. But if I was looking at that crowd today, I'll be worried. Competing with him. We are yet to see how much we are going to pull, but don't write us off also there, because we've got a very, very good candidate. We've got an extremely good candidate, and I think we may actually surprise people in this election. But maybe the bigger point I want to make is this one. If you listen to what the president said, the president of the country this time, if you listen to what he said in Pinga, the deliveries, especially of the dam, he says there was a dam which was planned in 1912, and he is working on it now. It's on 60%, to completion. That's actually good for the citizens. Someone like me from Lupane, I'm actually happy because some of the water will go to Lupane, some of the water will go to Pinga. Same thing with electricity. He said 10 megawatts or so of electricity, it must not go to the national grid. It must remain for the local people there. And they prioritize schools. You also prioritize the chief's residency. And I think when he says chiefs, I think he's talking about the communities as well, which is very, very key and important, because once we have once we have electricity supply in schools, it means we can now have ICT infrastructure. And I think you saw the divide between the city dwellers and the rural dwellers during COVID in terms of education delivery. Our kids were left behind, simple because they are rural dwellers, no electricity, then therefore no ICT infrastructure, and they really, really lost a lot in terms of their education and therefore their future. So I'm saying, if there's anything we can take home from these by-elections, we're angry about the recalls, fine, but what these by-elections have done is they have said to citizens, here are the promises we're giving you as parties. And by the way, you are not going to wait for 5 years to punish them or reward them based on their promises. We've only got 12 months to go, right? So we vote for you now. You don't deliver on your promise. Come 2023, we are going to show you the flames. So I'm actually happy about that. But let me come now to the question of violence. I'm at pains, Kambakwe, to say I don't find the opposition, including us, responsible for the current violence, this current violence. This current violence can only be traced back to the Sheikh house. That's where you can trace it back. Because if you listen to the spokespersons, you listen to what they say. I think I saw another reporting where it was said the Kwekwe violence was provoked. Who justifies that? And then I also listened this time to the spokesperson of ZANU saying NC is trolling the president, and then therefore that's why there's violence. Why is trolling the president? What do you mean? Because there are by-elections. So if the president is in Pinga today, inevitably one of us will have to be in Pinga tomorrow, because the election is this week. So you can't then say he must go somewhere. Where can he go? There are limited constituencies that have these by-elections. So basically, you will find a situation where one is at White Seat and then probably the other one is at Luveve Stadium, because that's the nature of the elections. And I can see everyone is invested. So the ZANU-PF is very, very much invested, by the way. I see them when they're here in Bulawayo to come into their campaigns. They are very invested. If I'm not mistaken, I think the vice president of the country yesterday was in Matop. So they're extremely invested in this. That other week when I spoke to you, I was here in Pumula, right here next to me. So they are extremely invested. If the ruling party is invested to the point of deploying their number one and number two, why can't the opposition parties as well go to the same areas also and deploy their best and try and spread their message?
Okay, let's go to what Chamisa said. Chamisa said ZANU-PF has already started putting up bases like they did in 2008 to intimidate the rural population. So with Chamisa gaining momentum the way he's doing, is ZANU-PF not going to resort to violence? You already saw the court cases. We had the court case in Marondera. We had the court case in Masvingo today. Is there no danger of violence if we don't have dialogue?
Well, now let me, because right now I spoke about the current violence, let me talk about violence in general, is in the Zimbabwean context. The unfortunate thing about the Zimbabwean context is that we are generally not opposed to violence as a country. We are not. We are just opposed to violence in as far as it disadvantages the one we favor. Because I'll take you back to 2018. 2018, I had an 80-year-old man whom the doctors told me that if I was few minutes late, that man was going to die, who was hit by a brick on the forehead. 80-year-old man, that was not ZANU. No one, and I mean no one, did anything about it. No one complained. No one say, no, this is not the type of politics which we want. Nobody. I don't have to take you back to Puera. Even up to today, people are angry when we raise that. But that was a manifestation of violence, which we needed to arrest. So right now, there is a young man with a young family. He is now lost to his family in Kwekwe, in Mboneni. Not even anyone from the ruling party is condemning that. Even the supporters, they seem to be quiet about it. They want to desensitize us from this and accept it as part and parcel of our campaigns. That's not how things are. So the most unfortunate thing is that in this country, you saw another demagogue, he calls himself Bishop something, coming from South Africa, came here because of his appetite for attention, goes and start inciting Kukraundi issues, speaking one of the most evil things a person can say. And nobody said anything because he seems to speak for ZANU and is employed by ZANU. They said nothing. Government said nothing. Nobody. So as a country, we don't care about these things. We don't care the pain that befalls other people, be it by the state or by another powerful player or by another rogue player. We don't care. We only care if it affects those that are close to us. But I want to tell you something. The government has a role to play because government now, as it behooves them to begin to create a nation which is envisioned in our national constitution. If you look at that constitution and see the demands, its imperatives, the government is the one with the power to do that. So I was happy with part of the speech I listened to today there in Pinga, where the president was clear on what he wants to do for the people of Pinga and for the people of Matabeleland. And he went as far as speaking about the road from Beitbridge to Harare. Is going to do the same from Beitbridge to Bulawayo. We'll have to, no, not Bulawayo, he went as far as Victoria Falls. I think he said Bulawayo, then Bulawayo, Victoria Falls. So we have to hold him to account on those promises. Once you do that, once you begin to build a nation where everyone has water, everyone has electricity, everyone has ICT infrastructure, you can't have everything seen in Mashonaland and Harare. You go to Harare, you think you're in another country. You come to the western or southern side, you think you're in another country. So it divides the nation. But on the issue of violence, the unfortunate thing is that the country as a whole is not worried about violence as long as they think violence will benefit their preferred candidate, and it disadvantages those that political enemies.
Senator, I do not agree with you totally on that statement. President Mnangagwa has been speaking against violence in every rally. I want to show you something from today's rally. And remember, I played in the previous interviews, President Mnangagwa speaking against violence. So let's play what he said today.
Remember, Central Committee, yes, ZANU-PF. And udzakuti pa aizama kubatanidza vatungamiriri kuno veku ZANU-PF. Imba yake nemota yake zvakaita zvakapiswa. Zvakashata izvozvo. Peace, peace, harmony, harmony, unity, unity. ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, all our people must love each other. No violence.
I must say, I have grown to have so much respect for President Mnangagwa on his stance on peace. I don't want to lie to you. I listened to President Mnangagwa's speech today, twice. He's very focused on the issues on development. There is no way President Mnangagwa can encourage violence.
No. Listen. Yeah. No. I think it's your inability to decode what I'm saying. I never spoke about anyone encouraging violence. I did not. I spoke about the general dispossession of the populace. I spoke about that. And I said, if you want to trace the current violence, not the general, you have to go to Sheikh. And then I told you the spokespeople there. And then I took you to 2018 and I told you that it was not ZANU. But let me tell you why I'm saying it behooves the government to create an environment which is violent-free. In this sense, you are playing what President Mnangagwa is saying as if President Mnangagwa is Senator Kalpani Pukeni or Advocate Nelson Chamisa or Dr. Tokarase Monzwa. Those people have no power. All we have is persuasive power. The president is running an administration. Which administration has the responsibility? If right now we're talking of a situation where the culprits are going through a process and they were arrested, and I'm talking from the 2018 violence which I spoke to. If we are saying those people who almost killed an 80-year-old man are in prison as we speak right now, it's a different story altogether. President Mnangagwa holds more power than you and all those people that I mentioned combined, all of us combined. He's got so much power to create an environment that does not incentivize the delinquent ones, you see? So if today I wake up and I commit a political violence, President Mnangagwa's administration must arrest me, and then the legal system must take its course and incarcerate me. That will work to incentivize those that will do the same. But if the president stands up there and say no to violence, we want peace, love each other, and then Mazibaba is salvaged in the manner which it is allegedly to have done. In fact, that is beaten, we can see, but we understand that's the police on Thursday. I think it's this past Thursday. That undermines all this good work that the president and his good work that he's doing. So make no mistake, I think you know why so many people hate me and call me all sorts of names and call me this and that and agent and all those things. It's because I cannot falter the man on the good things which he has said and some of the programs which he has intervened to make sure that people's lives are better. I will not falter him there. But I'm saying on this one, he is a president and his administration promised us peace and tranquility, and that's not what we are seeing.
Okay, let's wrap it up, Senator. Is dialogue not what we need to solve these issues? Because as we move towards the election, and as Chamisa continues to gain momentum in the cities, obviously, some people within ZANU-PF are going to feel the need to push back, especially if he finishes the cities and starts going to the rural areas.
No, but I think he was in Cholocho last week. Was he not in Cholocho? I think he was in Cholocho last week. That's rural. That's rural. So, and he seemed to be able to attract numbers. Let's see when he goes to Pinga, if he can beat what we saw today. I don't agree that there need to be a dialogue to stop violence. If the president says no violence, peace, whoever goes against that must be arrested. That person must be arrested. We don't need to dialogue around criminals because it's a criminal act. I'm making it clear to you. If I, as Kalpani Puken, let me just give you a perfect example. I was at a certain hotel this week. So I was rushing for a meeting. I wanted to iron my clothes. I discovered that there is no iron. So I called them. They took over 30 minutes to bring the iron. Of course, I was not happy. So then the facilities lady, they chat with me, says, listen, right now we had 80 irons stolen. So I said to her, look, let me give you a perfect thing to do. As we check in here, you must have a list of things that you know that they are high targets to people. And then we just sign, just make sure that they are there. So that as we leave as well, you can do that checkup. And then he says, but Honorable, will you be happy when you leave if I call you and say, Honorable, the iron is no longer there? I said to her, listen, if that happens, you don't even have to call me Honorable because my actions disqualify me from even being called Honorable. I'm a thief. And you must treat me as a thief. So I'm saying to you, anyone who engages in political violence, anyway, let me put you this way, anyone who engages themselves in violence, those people are criminals and they must be treated as such.
Okay, so there's no need for dialogue at this point.
No. Look, for the life of me, Kambakwe, if dialogue is about current political violence, I don't think there is a need for that, because what are we dialoguing about? We're dialoguing about criminals. Who is protecting criminals? Who's protecting criminals?
Okay.
If the dialogue is only about, but of course I know the dialogue is much bigger and much broader than that. So I said it to you earlier on that President Manzora is clear on why he wants to go dialogue and what he's going to achieve out of it and how it will benefit the people of Zimbabwe. And I told you that no one can disagree with that, at least anyone in their rightful minds, right? And I told you again why I think NC will not play in Monzora's forte, because he also has a path that he thinks is going to take him to State House. So from a strategy or tactic or whatever point of view, you will expect the two men to always be parallel. But on the issue of violence, I'm saying there is no need to dialogue over violence, because then it assumes that there are people who are being protected, who are committing acts of violence. And I'm giving you a perfect example. According to reports, Mazibaba Weshandugo was beaten under police custody. Now, You are talking about NC becoming so popular that he pulled 50,000 people. You know, I credit that to what? Of course, he's a hard worker. Take nothing away from him, because especially if you look at their logistics, they are very good at getting people in there, and I'll presume getting them out as well, because if they can get them in every week, week in and week out, which means they're also good at getting them out. So take that, don't take that away. But much of that as well has to do with the perceived ill treatment and heavy-handedness of the state machinery against him. They've basically campaigned for him. I said this last week. So every time you stop him from doing a rally, he has to go to court. What happened last week? Was it Marondela, I think? What happened in Marondela? It campaigned for him. There is no question about it. Everywhere I walk, people are like, you guys are so scared of the young man. He's going in, you see. And all of that is coming from where? Is coming from this heavy-handedness approach. So instead of us now debating on our value propositions and offerings, we're now debating on, you're scared of so and so, that's why it's being stopped, that's why it's what, everyone. So the popularity and the campaign is done largely at shake and some of these sycophants in the security establishment.
Okay, Senator, it was really, really nice talking to you. And you don't know the value that you are bringing to Zimbabwean politics. I think you are the most visible senator in Zimbabwe right now. If I was Chamisa, I was going to give you a call and steal you from Senator Monzora.
You see, you're now starting problems because I realized I was going to say this about Zimbabweans. The unfortunate thing is that we're so polarized when I come back that people can't even appreciate that when I come here as an analyst, I have to be objective. They don't want to appreciate that. They think that if I come here as an analyst, if there's something good which HE has done, I must bash him. If I come here as an analyst and there's something good which NC has done, I must say, no. You see, they just don't understand that we are one people at the end of the day. I have no choice. You know, in 2018, I didn't vote for the current administration, but the majority of you voted for them. So I just have to embrace them because they are there representing me. So I can wake up tomorrow, NC being the president represents me, because I'm hoping if I wake up tomorrow and my candidate is the president, then you support us as well. So for me, it's very, very important that even in our differences, we are civil to one another. We are not disagreeable in our disagreements.
Okay. Personally, I don't think Chamisa is there yet. I'm not. You see, I'm objective like you. I do not want to give it to Chamisa yet, and I've said it in a number of long interviews or discussions that Chamisa still needs to work on the structures. He hasn't been tested yet. The test is coming when he has to create internal structures. And next week, we are all going to see how much impact he has made in terms of the party. When the elections happen, I think that's on Saturday. This week is the last campaign. Chamisa is going to be in Masvingo tomorrow, and I don't know where else he's going, but this is basically the last 100 meters to this election. And I think next week when we're back here, lucky enough on Saturday, it will be our day together in the evening. We'll be starting to see what happens. Because these elections are quite small.
I need to know I start in church. So before sunset, I won't be able to vote. I'm hoping that by the time I go there, the line won't be too long for me. So you find that by the time we're supposed to be on the air, I'm still on the line to vote. But for me, this is a good dry run for next year. And our people, like I said, they must hold us to our promises. There's a lot which is being promised. And I always say this, it is much, much better for the country and for everyone else if all these big political players can find a way to exist even in their different political formations. I'll give you an example. I was reading yesterday, I think so, and I saw that the General Bantu Holomisa next door here, South, was tasked by opposition parties in parliament after they'd had a meeting, all of them, to write a letter to President Ramaphosa because there are issues which they want to discuss with him. And they said, we hope your nearest convenience you can meet with us. And I was saying to myself, why can't we do this? Why can't we sit, all of us, as opposition and as Zimbabweans, and agree on one thing, and then call HE, I would like to talk to you. There's this and this and this and this and this. And then if he turns us down, then we've got a message to our people, but it shows that we're interested in this country. But I think the government will have to lead more than anyone else on bringing down the tone when it comes to the election. And I'm saying those spokespeople at Shake House will really help us if they stop all these inflammatory statements and stop justifying what we call a gruesome murder of a young person. It's bad, Kambagwe. It's bad. We are parents. You are a parent. I'm a parent. I can't imagine taken out like that and Fana has to grow without me. It's just not on. It's not going to happen. It's cruel. It's cruel. It's cruel. You think you are hurting this political party. They're not hurting the political party. They are hurting innocent people. And there's no way God is going to look the other side. So this nation of ours will be cursed by a few rogue elements, and we must isolate them. We must isolate those people because God is not going to be allowing innocent blood just to be split all over like that, to be spilled all over like that, and then he ignores. So we are going to bring cases to our nation over nothing. We must isolate these violent elements. We are a peace-loving nation, and we must be able to coexist in our different political persuasions.
Okay. Senator, I really enjoyed talking to you, and let's bring this to an end. Next week, we want to come back here and we reassess Nelson Chamisa. How much ground has he made? Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
No, I want to say, whilst we are praying for the people of Ukraine, because I think that's all we can do. We can only pray for them. Whilst we are praying for the people of Ukraine, we must also be ready to assist our people here at home, because Ukraine plays a major role in world food security. So obviously that chunk will be taken out. And of course, you see what is happening, the world isolating Russia, correctly so, over their actions in Ukraine. So oil prices have started skyrocketing. So that will mean that cost of living is really going to rise. So you are going to see a lot of extreme poverty. The World Bank said half of our population is living under extreme poverty. So you're going to see that number rise. So I'm just appealing to those of us who are able and capable, adopt a family or adopt one extremely poor person, take care of their needs on a month-to-month basis, maybe until this storm is over, because it's about to get really, really rough.
Thank you very much, Senator, and I'll see you again next week.
Cheers, mate.
Member yeCentral Committee yeZANU-PF andiudza kuti paaizama kubatanidza vatungamiriri kuno vekuzanu-PF imba yake nemota yake zvakaita zvakapiswa, zvakashata izvozvo. Peace, peace, harmony, harmony, unity, unity. MuZanu-PF in Zimbabwe, all our people must love each other. No violence.